Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Pastrnak sent it out in front of Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Patra right in and goal. He scores. Oh my! What a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get into it. Score!
The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand. Score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. We are recording today's episode on Monday, March 9th, post-Olympic break, where the NHL is back in full swing. I will be your host for today's episode. I'm Maria from Watertown, and I want to welcome in my lovely co-host, Caroline with a K. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the chaos that is the sprint to the finish of the playoffs of the NHL regular season.
Oh my God, Maria, it's a scary time to be a Bruins fan right now. It's very nerve-wracking because we're all a little traumatized from a year ago.
Yeah, and you know we made it through the trade deadline relatively unscathed, but we have lots to digest and break down since the Bruins came back to playing regular season games from the Olympic breaks. Some of it okay, some of it not so okay. So we're going to set the table today. We're going to start with talking about what the Bruins did or didn't do at the trade deadline. We'll talk about what is now becoming a serious area of concern, which is the Bruins' inability to win on the road. We're going to talk about the madness that will be the finish to this 2025-2026 NHL season, and a little bit of breaking news that happened before we started recording in that, and this came through from Scott McLaughlin, in that the Bruins signed a defenseman, Frederic Brunet, to a 2-year contract extension with an annual cap hit of $875,000. Not earth-shattering, but still a decent signing.
Yeah.
By the Bruins.
Agreed. Well, and we know friend of the pod, Mary Beth, has been a fan of Brunet's for probably a couple of years now. We've been talking about him. Glad to see that the Bruins are going to give him a chance.
So let's, before we get into the nitty gritty of everything we need to discuss related to the Bruins, let's do our little spin around the rink, because it was, in fact, the trade deadline on Friday. And while some teams, I think, were aggressive, I think other teams were a little bit appalled by the asking prices for some players. And I frankly thought that some general managers were being a little bit greedy, if I might say so myself. But there were clearly moves that were made by certain teams that clearly show that they're, in a retool or rebuild mode, whatever word is the new buzzword that teams are using. And we'll start with the Washington Capitals, who traded away, long time
legend of their most recent Cup win era, although it's been already, oh my God, pushing almost 10 years, 2018, right? So
Don Carlson. Don Carlson, who has a very tight relationship with Alex Ovechkin, and now the speculation is, will this be Ovi's final year? Right? I mean, does he want to stick around? What clearly is a rebuild or retool for the Washington Capitals.
Yeah. And I wouldn't blame him to not, his situation is his particular situation is different than that of Sidney Crosby, in the fact that Alex Ovechkin is going to be 41 years old in September. And when Sid signed his most recent extension, he's younger. He was born in 87, so he's 2 years younger than him. So he had more time around to do something and to give back to the organization and try and get it into a good place by the time he were to leave. If Washington is looking at the current situation and saying, okay, we have to do a retool at 41 years of age, I don't think there is a problem whatsoever with him going off into the sunset at this point in time, because it could take multiple years. And at that particular age, he's already accomplished pretty much everything that any NHL skater would ever want to accomplish. So I wouldn't blame him.
No. And the Tampa Bay Lightning saw the return of Corey Perry, which means to me signals, they're, seriously trying to contend. They must have felt that they needed that veteran kind of, been there, done that guy. This isn't his first stint.
That's an understatement.
Did he score a goal in his first game there with the Tampa Bay Lightning after the trade deadline too?
Yeah. Well, him being a veteran of playoff games, high stakes playoff games, is an understatement, because how many Stanley Cup Game 7s has he been in? How many Stanley Cup final games has he lost in?
I'm right. And it's funny because I heard a commentator, I don't know what game I was watching over the weekend, who said that he was pretty certain that Corey Perry would be in the Hall of Fame.
What?
Which I kind of like, what?
Really?
Just based on his longevity, statistics. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe.
I haven't followed his career that closely, but I don't know.
I don't know that he would necessarily be a first ballot, but who knows?
Yeah.
He could. I guess it could happen. I don't know.
I mean, it wasn't a great trade deadline. There wasn't a lot of, big hockey deals being made for the most part. And I think, listening to Darren Dreger and others talk about the rationale for that is that, the league itself put a kibosh on the fact that you could turn these contracts and spin them around and say, okay, one team is, I forget what the terminology is, but okay, we're going to send this guy there, retention clause. And that has put a bit of a damper on some of the activities and has hindered some of the, the back and forth, which.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this for years now, where I would kind of jokingly call it the financing aspect of a trade deal, where how many other teams are going to get involved, and then by retaining a certain portion of that trade's salary, you effectively were having other teams pay for your acquisition of a player. Were they breaking? They weren't breaking rules when they did it, although now it's...
No, but they were exploiting, once again, a loophole. At the same, correct, just like the LTIR clause. And at some point when you feel that people are taking advantage of that and it's being misused, right? Yep. Somebody has to step in and make a change. Now, is it a buzzkill? Yeah, it is a buzzkill, but...
Yeah. Well, I have to say, though, what I love about the trade deadline is no matter what happens, whether it's a blockbuster, crazy day like we all experienced last year, or a more quiet affair like it was this year, it still tells you so much about what different GMs are thinking about their club. So I think the teams that stood out to me in this trade deadline, Colorado Avalanche, indicating their seriousness about going all the way. They brought back Nazem Kadri, which I loved that. They did some bulking up in that regard. You mentioned Tampa Bay, which is a team that it wasn't that I wasn't considering them in the mix, but we've talked about how the East is very tight. And so because
it's going to be a bloodbath to get out of the West.
Yes. So they signaled to me, Tampa Bay signaled, hey, we really do believe that we can go far. And then what I was, again, I'm pleased as a hockey fan. I am not pleased as a Bruins fan. But the Buffalo Sabres, for the first time, participating in serious business on the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
this is their
Kevin Adams, I don't know what he'd been doing for years, but he made the organization a joke.
A joke.
They meant business. They were active, and they're saying to everyone, we're not going to squander these last 6 weeks because has it been 15 years now? Or
it's been a long time. It's been a long time. They are in first place.
In the Atlantic.
In the Atlantic right now.
Yes.
Okay. First place.
Yes. That's why as a Bruins fan, I don't love
Thompson is a beast. Tage Thompson is a beast.
Yeah.
But how do you think they feel? Talk about a little bit of drama to this trade deadline.
Yes.
So there's been, all kinds of rumors, speculation about Robert Thomas from the St. Louis Blues.
Yes.
And he apparently blocked a trade.
Yes.
To the Buffalo Sabres.
Yes.
Now, and I understand when that happens, right? It comes out. Not only does management look bad, but it makes the player, I think, the player is only exercising the right to which they negotiated.
Right. And there could be a wide variety of reasons. Just because they say no doesn't necessarily mean that they hold some kind of disdain or animosity for that particular organization. We saw Linus Ullmark say no to a trade a number of years ago out to California.
Just a couple of years ago.
Because he had a young family, and they're in school.
But that's their right.
It's their right, yeah.
It's their right to do that.
Right.
But here's what I don't understand. Why would you negotiate and lead the organization to believe, because by all accounts, Buffalo believed that they had a deal to bring Robert Thomas to them. Do you remember that happened to the Bruins many years ago with Jerome McGinley? I'll never forget it. We were sitting at a game at the TD Garden before the trade deadline and looking through social medias, here reading reports, Iginla to Boston. We were like, Jesus, we don't give a crap what happens with this game today. We got Jerome Iginla from the Penguins. No. He said no.
Right.
He said no. So, but that I do blame management for that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, why would you go so far down the negotiation pathway if
wouldn't you know? Wouldn't that be a conversation, a priority conversation that you have with said player's agent?
Yeah.
Hey, we're getting really close to a deal with this team that benefits our organization. Is this going to fly with your guy?
Right. Yeah.
But then it all becomes public knowledge, right? And then and so then what happens is sometimes fans being fans, the fan base takes it out on said player.
Yeah. And that's really crappy. That's really crappy because you don't know necessarily his motivation.
Right.
If he doesn't want to go there, he doesn't even have to give you a reason. He's not obligated. If he earned the right to say no and he says no,
that's part of his contract.
It's his prerogative. But those were the teams that I thought had a really good trade deadline. Obviously, there are other teams.
Well, the Mammoth too. The Mammoth got Mackenzie Weegar.
Oh, right? That's right. I forgot about.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're they're not messing around either. They want an
They want to
opportunity
make the playoffs.
to make the playoffs and make some noise. I mean, I think I've said it a couple of times on this pod. The cup is going to go through the West this year. I will be shocked if any team out of the East ends up hoisting the Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think not to say that the West is easier, but the fact that in the East, how many points does the last place team have? Seattle has 67 points, and the 15th placed Toronto Maple Leafs in the East have 65.
God, I hope they don't make. Oh God, wouldn't that be delicious to have them?
Like it just goes to show you just how much more competitive the East is. The fact that almost every single team in the East would be right in the thick of the West for a top spot. It's crazy. It's crazy. But, with that particular trade and then also the Kadri trade, that also signaled that, Calgary was trying to make a push before the Olympic break to see if they could really turn things around because things were starting to get better for them. And I think that they then decided to make the leap before it was too late and opted to go the retooling route as opposed to trying to make something happen and then have a highly disappointing end. So
right.
I have respect for teams like that because
I think a lot more is going to happen in the off season. I think once,
and they're not throwing in the towel per se.
No,
they're not setting
no.
up their team for failure like the Bruins.
But I think some GMs were trying to fleece each other, and I'm glad that the GMs on the other end were like, "Yeah, no, hell no, top prospects and picks," and we'll get to that as it relates to the Bruins. But it just seemed like, some GMs again were trying to fleece other GMs and maybe see how vulnerable or desperate other teams would be.
Yeah. Well, I think there was also a lot more sellers this year than in the past. And so if people were trying to get, if there were GMs who had a lot of parts that they wanted to sell, but nobody wanted them, others wanted other parts of the team, they found themselves in a situation where they could say, all right, well, give me something completely outrageous.
Right.
So, meh.
And don't look now, but the Buffalo Sabre, this is crazy. They could be this year's Cinderella story, honestly.
It really could. Can you imagine?
And I have to say, I'm always rooting for our Boston Bruins, win, lose, or draw. But if and when that changes, I'm going to be pulling for these Sabres.
Yeah.
I think their fan base deserves.
I agree. I agree. The long-suffering Buffalo fans. That's just...
I think it's
I'm also just
business.
A hockey fan. I'm also a hockey fan. And
yes,
I love good hockey.
And who doesn't like a Cinderella story?
Absolutely. Right? Yeah.
So the trade deadline was, I don't know. I would give it if I had to give it a grade in terms of, the wow factor, C.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was anything wow about it this year.
Yeah. Yeah. There weren't, with the trade deadline being frozen for so long too, because of the Olympic break, the big name Panarin happened before, and then everyone kind of forgot about it because it happened literally before. And I feel like the Kadri story got buried. I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm going through our chat, and I missed it.
Yeah.
When it came out, it's like, why is
was
this not
that
a bigger
last
story?
minute? I think that came in under the wire. I think that deal came in under the wire. The deal that wasn't done, which everyone was expecting to have done, which would have been the Rangers dealing off Vinny Trocheck.
Yeah.
And to the credit of the Rangers, right? They weren't getting the offer of the return that they felt they should. So he's still a good player. You're not going to give someone away for nothing. How does that help you retool or rebuild? So he is still a New York Rangers for the time being.
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll see when the season is done, just how quickly they might try to flip him. Although anybody that they might legitimately want, potentially they can't even make an offer for until June or closer to the free agency, depending on how
the draft. I don't even know when the draft is. Sometimes deals get made during the draft too.
Yeah, the final week.
So that's our spin around the rink with regard to the trade deadline. We had a couple of other pieces of news across the league, one of which was, again, Evgeny Malkin being suspended for 5 games for what was an egregious stick.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but I think he should thank his lucky stars he only got 5 games for what he did.
Yeah. I'd say ever since the Freddie incident,
yes,
the league has had a different tune about that.
Because they screwed it up as usual.
They did it so badly.
Right? They screwed it up as usual.
Yep. Yeah. So at least now they're actually taking it seriously. Because that was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was gross. It was gross. And then some injury news is that Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche is out week to week with a lower body injury. So,
yeah, I believe it was quite the shot to the crotch, and the cup was dented. So it's a good thing he already has children.
Okie dokie then. So I wouldn't even begin to guess what the recovery time is for injuries such as that.
Yeah, that poor man has had.
He can't catch a break, right?
Yeah. Well, we said before with Colorado when he was out in January that it was good for Colorado because they could experience some adversity. I'll be really curious to see how they handle this round. I don't think that they will have trouble, especially with the new guys and the new old guys who have made their way back to the Colorado Avalanche. I'm not worried about them. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it's cup or bust for them. I think it would be such.
They're putting all their chips in.
Yeah, such a disappointment. So let's segue into the Bruins.
Yes.
And thoughts on their trade deadline for this season. Now, very stark contrast to what happened last season. We don't want to regurgitate
fire sale.
The implosion that happened last season. And I know that there were some comments made leading up to the trade deadline, both by Don Sweeney saying that he felt that they owed it to this team, because I think some of it is. So his commentary was that he felt that he owed it to the players in the room that had been working hard, doing a good job.
Yeah.
Okay, to maybe try to make the team stronger.
Yep.
Great. To which I say, okay, Donnie, I think some of it is also due to the fact that I'm very confident that there is no appetite on the part of Bruins ownership to have another season with no playoffs in the TD Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that some of Donnie's decision-making may have also been influenced by that being thrown in the back of his in the back of his mind.
Right.
So I didn't expect them to part with any key or core players this season because I know how the minds of the Jacobs family works.
Right.
Because if they don't make the playoffs for the second year in a row, I can't imagine what's going to happen at the TD Garden offices.
Right. I can't imagine. I can't. Well, I can. I know it's hope for the best.
Right. And then coupled with the comment made by Morgan Geekie shortly before the trade deadline when asked about, the difference between the feelings from last year's trade deadline and to this year's, his thoughts were, quote unquote, it kind of feels polar opposite, to be honest. I think this group's done a great job of kind of putting ourselves in the position to stand pat or add guys, whatever they see fit.
Yep.
Morgan Geekie told Bridget Frew of WEEI.
Yes.
So, right, when you hear one of your core players, right, because he is now one of your core players, who has also been a significant reason why you've had some sustained success, how can you think about moving said player? Because apparently Don Sweeney was asked by two teams about Morgan Geekie, or moving Victor Arvidsson, or moving Pavel Zacha, right? What would that do to your room, honestly?
Right. I mean, we know what it did to the room when they cleaned house of basically all of the veteran leadership last year. We saw what happened. I was worried about Arvidsson because I'd been hoping that they would extend him. And rumor has it that they actually are working on an extension for him, which is good, well-deserved. But I was genuinely concerned because there's a degree of distrust, at least in my regard, of Bruins management to make the right decision and thinking, he is a very valuable piece of the team. Is he a core element in the way that Morgan Geekie, David Pasternak, Chucky, some of these guys are?
Right.
Maybe not. Although now I kind of question that maybe he kind of is moving into that realm. But I was genuinely worried. I was really curious to see if they would deal Korpisalo at the deadline. And who knows, again, that could be one of those situations where they shopped him around and it really wasn't worth it because he's generally had a decent season and he's helped with the workload for Swayman because we know that Sway just cannot do more than 3 starts in any reliable way.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm tired of giving this kid that latitude. Okay? If you're going to be the guy and
I agree.
You're going to make a legitimate run to get into the playoffs, I'm sorry. The majority of the workload has to be bared by Jeremy Swayman.
I agree.
Okay.
Look at Colorado. Look at Colorado's goaltenders.
He couldn't play that game coming back from the break. What the hell was that all about?
Probably still hungover.
Okay. This is what's going to get, and maybe it's not his decision fully. I don't think it is. I don't understand.
Right.
But I'm sorry. You are paying this kid to be your number one. And if he's not going to bear the majority of the workload and suck it up and figure out how to play 3 games in a series, then we're in big freaking trouble.
I agree. And we've said time and time again that goaltenders win cups. And one of the reasons why I think that Colorado, I would almost go as far as to say that the cup is theirs to lose. Granted, playoffs are a totally different beast. I understand that. However, their goaltenders machines. The number of games, I can't remember which one is, because they got almost the same last name. Wedgwood, Blackwood, whatever the heck his name is. Mackenzie Blackwood, is that the one who's been playing an absurd amount of games? Whatever. The fact that at the start of the season, he was already playing almost every game for weeks, almost like the goaltenders of 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore, and that's the guy who's going to carry you to the Cup final.
I mean, it's just, and, they don't have a lot of wiggle room with the way that the standings are in their conference. Like you gave yourself, and we'll get to the games that they recently played, and you're leaving points on the table that you can ill afford to leave on the table when you're in a position that you can create a good deal more separation. It's maddening. And, I understand you're trying to balance workloads. You're trying to keep your backup goalie somewhat sharp in the case of an emergency. But, this is going to be a mad dash to the finish here. And if Swayman can't play 3 games in 1 week with the day of rest in between, what are we doing here?
I don't know.
What are we doing here?
I don't know. And we've already kind of heard to some degree the fact that Jeremy Swayman is already getting the Tuukka Rask treatment, which, let me just say, 2 things can be true, right? In this particular instance. One, do I think that Boston sports media talking heads, generally casual, uninformed fans, are they already starting to kind of, crap on him like they did Tuukka Rask? For sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
No,
However,
it has already started here.
Yes.
With one of our local sports talk radio shows. The same show that spent years crapping all over Tuukka Rask.
Right.
Turning the fan base against Tuukka Rask. Some of the criticism was justifiable.
Yes.
Not always.
Right.
Because there was a core group in front of Tuukka that crapped their pants along with Tuukka.
Yes.
This is now a transition, okay? Yeah. We have a core, but we don't know if it's the core for the entirety of Swayman and McAvoy and Pasta's career here. Okay.
Right. We're in the early days of whatever this new era is.
I'm not ready. Ready to go down that road. And I want to caution the people who are going down that road this is why we can't have nice things in Boston. The kid is going to be a really, really good goaltender.
Yes.
But you're not doing him any favors when you hand him, this $8 million deal, and you're playing him every other day. That doesn't, if he's the guy, he's got to show that he's the guy.
Exactly.
The organization has got to show that he is the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. It's right now he's kind of existing in this mushy middle where,
and I'm not blaming him. Not blaming him. I'm just putting out the warning signal that if that doesn't change, what will happen is the fan base will turn against Swayman. They will, and they'll blame him for the money. Listen, that's what they offered him, right? Blame management too. Okay. It's a two-way deal here.
Yeah.
But he's got to step up. He has got to step up and show, okay, I want to be the guy. I'm going to be the guy.
Yes. Yeah, I think, and listeners can certainly call us out on it if they think we're not doing this, but I think that there is a difference between not critiquing Swayman's play and pointing out when he does well or does poorly, that is not the same thing as giving the Rask treatment to him, because I still think that Jeremy Swayman is an incredible goaltender. I mean, I never really bought into the Rask treatment either. I mean, I think Tuukka Rask, GOAT. I mean, he quite literally is, statistically speaking.
A lot of it was skewed and to some degree unwarranted. And I think people forget what playoff it was. And it was a series against the Toronto Maple Leafs that went, I believe, 7 games. Were it not for Tuukka Rask.
Yes.
Were it not for Tuukka Rask.
Yes.
In that series, there would have been no Stanley Cup Finals. And I believe that there was 1 game, maybe 2, where he faced over 50 shots.
Right. Right. When you put the entire failure of the organization, from the time of 2011 through 2019, which I would argue was the golden age of the modern Boston Bruins, when they should have won 3 Stanley Cups, to turn around and put the failure of the team and the organization to accomplish that all on just the goaltender is ridiculous. It's foolish. It's uninformed. It's idiotic. You can't. You can't. And that is the Rask treatment.
Yes. Well, and I think, unfortunately, there's still a tendency in this region and as it relates to the Bruins to continuously go back and look at what Tim Thomas did in the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals.
Right.
Yeah, he was tremendous.
He was.
But that defense in front of him was a wrecking ball as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why.
So, yes, I'm going to give the goalie credit. Of course,
Sure.
I'm going to give the goalie credit.
Right.
But you also have to give the guys in front some credit as well.
There's a reason why goalie coaches teach kids who play the position to play more like Tuukka or more like Swayman than to play like Tim Thomas. There's a reason. And, I'm not taking anything away from Tim Thomas. Like you said, he was an unreal goaltender, but he was not a technical goaltender. And if you're that style of goalie, it's going to be a lot harder for you to be successful. And at the end of the day, no matter what sport it is, if it's a sport with a goaltender, you're always going to be opened up to the blame and the criticism for the loss that a team faces, because that's just human nature. And to look at the goalie instead of looking at the forward players in any other sport and saying, well, why didn't the forward players just score more goals?
Right.
So, but
So
speaking of
a little bit,
terrible games,
I know, but I just wanted to touch upon the one deal that the Bruins did make at the trade deadline and get your thoughts on that, because I know nothing about this player other than what I've recently read, is that the Bruins acquired forward Lucas Reichel from the Canucks in exchange for a 2026 6th-round draft pick. He's 23, played in 19 games with Vancouver and Chicago, 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points, 6 foot, 70 pound forward, has played 188 career NHL games with Vancouver and Chicago, totaling 22 goals, 37 assists for 59 points. From Germany, which we know Marco probably has some familiarity with him and knows him. Well, I don't know. What do you think? That's fine. I think no big deal.
I'm intrigued. He's the first German player on the Bruins since Seidenberg, so it's been a minute. And like you said, he's a young kid. He's 23 years old. He's already played for 2 other teams. He came into the league with the Blackhawks. So he was signed back in the 21-22 season. And he played there till 2024. And then in 24-25, RFA arbitration in, what did we say? Well, he signed, yeah. Where did he come from then? Vancouver, he said, right?
Vancouver. Yeah, he was
Yeah, so he's been already moved around a little bit.
Yeah,
but
he has. He's bounced around a little bit.
I mean, that doesn't totally concern me because, again, with these younger players, sometimes it's just there's no room for them or it's not the right fit. So, like, Murat Husnudinov is a perfect example of that. He was barely being used 4th line in Minnesota, and look at him now. So this kid, we'll be keeping a close eye on him. I mean, I already had heard of him before he became a Bruin. So hopefully that works out. That's all I can.
The other deals that Donnie made was they acquired forwards Alexis Gendron and Massimo Rizzo from the Philadelphia Flyers. How's that? For,
my God.
In exchange for forward Brett Harrison and defenseman Jackson Edward. So, again, nothing, to set off fireworks, but.
Yeah. Although I do remember Harrison, we really liked him.
Yes, we did.
Rookie camp. So, but again, Boston is in a position where we actually see a lot of really, really good young talent. And all of these guys, like, there's only so much room. And unfortunately, they had enough value for Johnny Boy's purposes, and we'll see what kind of comes from that, because I have no idea who those guys really actually are.
Well, and this quiet trade deadline has led to a little bit of speculation about James Higgins.
Yes.
Once BC's season ends, because it doesn't look like they're going to be making the Frozen Four. Signing him, and maybe we might see.
Yeah.
We'll see, but we might see James Higgins with the big boys at some point, either before the end of the season or, maybe during the playoffs if the Bruins make the playoffs. And so now we'll get into the nitty-gritty of that situation.
Please.
With our Boston Bruins. Okay. So, when last we met, the Bruins have played 6 games.
Yep.
6 games since coming back from the All-Star break. We've had, on the 26th, a victory at home against the Blue Jackets, who have been nipping at the Bruins' heels. So that was a 4-2 win. Then they go to Philadelphia on Saturday, the 28th, and lose to the freaking Flyers on the road, 3-1. They come back home on March 3rd to a team that has the Pittsburgh Penguins, no Sidney Crosby, no Malkin, and eke out a 2-1 win. If I'm remembering correctly, Jeremy Swayman had to be excellent in that game. Then we fast forward to March 5th at Nashville, which is a bad team, folks. It's a bad team.
Yeah.
Even with Steven Stamkos.
Yeah.
They're a bad team. They lose friggin' 6-3. 6-3. All right? Then they come back home March 7th to face the Capitals. Took an empty net goal to solidify that win. 3-1. Wasn't pretty. None of these games.
No.
None of these games have been pretty. Even the ones at home.
Yesterday would have been if they didn't completely.
Yesterday, Sunday, March 8th, they have a 3-0 lead against the Pittsburgh Penguins, once again, who have no Sidney Crosby, no Malkin, and they blow it.
Yep.
They effing blow it.
Yep.
Effing blow it. With their own, once again, self-inflicted wounds. Stupid penalties, and guys who are standing around refusing to do anything. I'm not even talking about the defensive structure. Literally, standing around doing nothing.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, these games have been difficult to watch. I recently put out a post on our Substack going into the trade deadline, talking about what Boston is doing really well right now and what they actually need. And, I didn't have an answer for, okay, who is the actual person who can fill these needs? But looking at how they've performed all season, I mean, it's, of course, they have strong home performance effect. Wonderful. They've had generally really strong goaltending. Yes. Their goal margins, they've been in the positive for quite a while now in the goal differential. And their possession, they maintain their puck possession in high important situations for the most part. However, the things that they need to work on, their biggest negative drivers, the things that are hurting their playoff chances the most, are all the things that also happened this week. So, possession generation, the team is not controlling possession nearly enough. They have very volatile transition. So their rush defense and their rush offense is unstable, which we saw. Their transition margin pressure, so transition advantage completely disappears in these tighter games. And it's not that these games started tight. Pittsburgh, let's use as an example, because they obviously came out pretty strong. I was highly impressed with the team that I saw in the first half of the game. But as Pittsburgh was able to kind of, all right, they got a goal, whatever, fine. I'm not expecting shutouts, 80 games a year. They get a goal. Well, all of a sudden now you've got this momentum going for Pittsburgh and they start to believe, okay, we can maybe eke out another goal. Next thing you know, it's 3-2, and now it is a tight game. And that transition advantage completely disappears. And their special teams. I mean, talk about a dichotomy. Once again, you have a team that is 5th in the power play, although it seems that's shocking to me because it feels like whenever they're on the power play, you still can't rely on them to actually score when they need to score, which makes me then wonder what the heck is everyone else's power play look like out there. And the penalty kill is atrocious. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
what is going on there?
I will say that I was impressed with the movement on the power play against the Penguins.
Yes.
And it seems like they're being much more aggressive on the power play because Charlie McAvoy is definitely been told to pinch down even further and make his way closer to the net and shoot more.
Right.
So I think that is something that has been changed, and they have to be given a little bit of credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
The penalty kill, I don't know what the hell is going on with that.
Right.
Something is, I mean, let's start by saying the compounding of errors. Compounding of errors when, first of all, yesterday's game, Jonathan Aspero had an awful game, especially in the third period.
I wonder if he's maybe still unwell, though. He did
I don't know.
miss the Nashville game due to illness.
Yeah. but he was just exposed.
Yeah, that
in
was
against
a bummer.
Pittsburgh. And then, so he who took a penalty, and then right after that, Lindholm takes a stupid stick infraction that gives Pittsburgh an extended 5-on-3 power play. It was just a mess. It was just an absolute mess yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, Boston, when it comes to their core team ability, and I talk about this in the Substack article, their baseline play driving is somewhat weak, especially with possession and scoring generation. A game, they'll have games where they have scoring depth and it's a beautiful thing. And you're like, yes, this is exactly what we need to see so we can actually make the playoffs and go deep into the playoffs. And then there are the games where they're in and out of the penalty box and they just are unable to generate any scoring because those key guys who can get the ball rolling can't be out there. So,
well, I think I'm going to disagree with you a little bit because I think we're making excuses for some of those big guys. They have not played well. They have not played well. And I'm going to share some stats with you. They got to get their heads out of their asses, including David Pastrnak. He got his first goal yesterday in 8, but he's been MIA since the break. Geeky has been MIA. Elias Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov.
Yeah.
These are all guys who have been MIA since coming back from the Olympic break. And let me share this, stat with you. Now, in these 6 games since the break, Victor Arvidsson leads the team in points with 7 points and a +6. Then we have Casey Middlestat with 5 points. 4 points +5. Hampus Lindholm, 2 points +4. All right. Yep. Then we go down to the guys who we would expect to see at the top there. All right.
Yep.
Elias Lindholm, 3 points -5. David Pastrnak, 4 points -6. Morgan Geeky, 3 points -6. These are not good stats.
No, they're not.
These are not good stats.
No. And I want to say,
you're not taking care of the puck when you have it.
Correct. And watching yesterday's game, once it was lost in overtime and the TV had panned over to David Pastrnak, I know he's a pretty well-behaved person in public, polished mostly and whatever, but not gonna lie, I wanted to see him angrier. I want him to be mad about losing. And in this case, because of the time of year, the situation, like the specific game situation, the playoff wild card race situation, and the implications of this losing to this particular team, and I want to see you now get mad. Now I want to see you get mad.
Right. I want to see you guys get pissed. Now, and maybe there is that in the locker room. We don't know. We don't know.
But now it is the time. It is okay to express that outwardly because you don't want it to come out when it's too late. You don't want
that loss last night. That loss last night, along with a couple of losses in the early part of October, if this team doesn't make the playoff and maintain its current wild card spot, that loss, along with a couple of losses in October, are going to be the losses that will haunt them for the rest of the summer.
Yes.
You can't play like that. And the other issue is you can't play like that on the road. You can't think that you're going out on the road and you have a lead and that you can start the third period in the manner in which they did, basically sleepwalking.
Yep.
It's still the freaking NHL, folks.
Yep.
I don't care. All right. You shouldn't care that they don't have Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin. All right. Everybody still is playing for something, even if it's for pride or to be a spoiler.
Right.
Get your head out of your asses. And for your coach to stand up in the post game and say that basically he doesn't have any answers. He doesn't know why. Like, he has no explanation for this. You know how you're supposed to play at this point in the season. Why aren't you doing it? And if you're not doing it, why the hell are you still seeing the ice?
I agree. Yep. I agree. I don't know. It's frustrating because they have what it takes to be a good team. I think in the start of the season, we had genuine concerns that they did not possess the talent required to make the playoffs. And I think that they've proven us all wrong, especially in the month of January. They really proved us all wrong, that they do have what it takes. And for them to now all of a sudden not be able to execute on it.
Yeah.
Yes, every team
and the troubling
post-break.
part to me is if you're able to maintain your defensive structure for the most part at home, right? Because their record at home, according to, I looked this up today on Stat News, okay?
Yep.
The record at home for the Bruins, 24-8-1. On the road, 11-14-5.
Yeah.
That loss last night in Pittsburgh is their either sixth or seventh loss in a row on the road. Now, I understand you don't have the benefit of the last change on the road. But is it that
come down to that?
But is it that dramatic that you still can't maintain your defensive structure? Why are you able to do it for the most part at home and you're not doing it consistently on the road? That doesn't give me a warm and fuzzy feeling about the ability for the Bruins to have any success in the playoffs when they're on the road, because you're likely not going to have home ice advantage if you're going in as a wild card team.
Exactly. They're basically not going. I would almost go out to say they're not going to have a home ice advantage at all. At all. A lot of other teams would have to really all of a sudden just collapse. And I don't see that happening in the
Well, and now to me, this is when Marco Sturm will earn his money. Because what I saw in the game last night, virtual NHL professional athletes standing still, watching the Penguins skating in virtually untouched, where you're leaving your goaltender and whatever one defenseman was who decided to play defense high and dry.
Yeah.
Okay? That simply can't happen. It can't happen anytime, but it certainly can't happen at a time of the year where every freaking point counts.
Yep.
Every freaking point counts.
Boston's remaining strength of schedule is still quite high. They still have an uphill battle, and like there's nothing that you can do about that, right? That's the schedule.
No, because they've got a lot. The more games to finish the season are on the road than it is at home.
Yeah. Yes. So who's in the penalty box then, Maria?
I'm putting the big boys in the penalty box. I'm putting the big boys that I referenced previously. Okay? Put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
You guys need to start contributing in one way, shape, or form. You just have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm speaking of Elias Lindholm, David Pastrnak, Morgan Geekie, and I'm going to throw Nikita Zadorov in there because I don't know what he's been doing of late, but to me, he has not been noticeable since coming out of the Olympic break. And I gave him credit for being one of the Bruins, if not the best defenseman in the early part of the season, to now like, dude, where are you?
Yeah.
You're needed now.
Yeah. He's been really quiet since
You're needed now.
the return. And, I know that you were unhappy with Aspero's play, and I don't disagree on that front. So I don't have a problem with him being in the box this week. I'm hopeful that is just a blip because the guy is a plus 22. So I'm optimistic that was just for him at least because he's been.
When do we see Jordan Harris at some point? When do we see Jordan Harris? So I don't know.
It's a good question.
What's up with that?
Shockingly, Mason Lohrei is also unnoticeable, which on the one hand is, I guess, good because of how badly he was messing up in the start of the year. However, this is a $3 million defenseman that is unnoticeable. He's a plus 10, which is fine.
And it's no secret. That the Bruins, and this has been an issue for the last 3 seasons, the Bruins struggle with any teams that have more speed than they do. It's been maddening. So, that, and I think that has a lot to do with a lot of the stupid penalties that we see them take. They're caught flat-footed, they're caught out of position. But again, like that gets ramped up at playoff time. If you can't handle it now, what are you going to do come playoffs?
Yeah. I am in agreement on that regard. But on the flip side, Bruins top line, second line, stick taps because well done, Pavel Zacha, second career hat trick.
He went from having no hat tricks to 2 this season.
Yeah. So we love to see that.
I think he's been rejuvenated by the fact that he didn't get moved, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I'm going to say about that because I listened to the guys on Morning Brew this morning who recorded their pod after the loss to the Penguins.
Yeah.
And their speculation is that will there be some line movement to get other guys going, i.e., will portions of Zacha, Arvidsson, Middlestat be broken up in order to jumpstart Pasta and Elias Lindholm? This has happened before where Elias Lindholm gets dropped down a line or 2. So, but again, you got a line going right now.
Right.
You risk, right? Because points are at a premium. Do you risk doing that for the sake of why can't these guys get themselves going?
Right. I don't know. But I do love the fact that Casey Middlestat is also having a bit of a rejuvenated season with these guys as well, because a lot of people were really against that trade last year and even at the start of the year saying like this is an awful decision, and I think it's been great. I think he's been great on that line and he's been really contributing. He is plus 6, so that's not bad.
And I got to give Don Sweeney a little bit of a stick tap for standing pat and not getting fleeced at the trade deadline and sticking to his guns, because I think a lot of what GMs were asking were ridiculously high prices to ask.
Yeah.
I'm fine with getting rid of, I'm fine with some of the prospects down in Providence, and, maybe other teams don't value Matt Poitras. Maybe we value Matt Poitras too much. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
But if you're asking for James Higgins, get out of here with that. Okay?
Go away.
Go away.
Yeah. He can have a little golf clap for me.
Yeah, a little golf
clap. Good job not screwing it up.
Yeah.
So we have 3 games to look forward
3 games
to this week. Kings, Sharks, and then the Caps.
Holy moly. I'm just worried about I don't mean to look ahead. But the Sharks coming in with Celebrini scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
mean,
These
it'll
are
be fun
points.
to watch.
These are points. They got to get points. They just need points. I mean, for as much as we were irritated at them squandering 2 points, I mean, they still got to walk away with 1 point in a week where they could have earned 12 points. They walked away with 7. I mean, okay, it's better than less than 7. I'm trying to be.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
You're like, no.
I don't have, right. It doesn't make you feel
No.
warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You got the
yeah.
LA Kings. I mean, I know they've had issues of their own, but they're on the struggle bus as well. They haven't won a game yet in March.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they're doing, kind of they're coming out to the East Coast now. But they have lost, I believe they've lost their last 3 games at home, they lost to the Avalanche, they lost to the Islanders, and they lost to the Habs. And I'm not sure that the Panarin experiment is working out great there right now. But
yeah, well, hopefully not really a problem for Boston.
we shall see. But if they don't get back to playing a solid 60 minutes, they're doomed.
Yes.
They're doomed.
They need to have a fully, and they have to have one on the road. Like they need to get this done on the road. Get that monkey off their back. It has to happen.
Well, they'll be back facing the Washington Capitals on Saturday in DC. That'll be a nationally televised 3:00 game. These afternoon games all stink, but
they do. Don't they know I'm busy, Maria? I have a life. I'm trying to live.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I agree with you. With that being said, thank you for listening, everyone. Please make sure you like and subscribe for more content. You be sure to leave us a rating and a review to help other Bruins fans find us. You can support our podcast by joining our Patreon or following us on our socials. You can find us at Tape to Tape MK, and on Substack, you can find us at tapetotapemk.substack.com. Any closing thoughts, my friend, on the week that was or the week that will be?
Just the usual. Go Bees.
Go Bees. Get those points.